Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Marriage is Tougher Than Woodpecker Lives podcast. This is Brian, joined by my co-host, Paul. We'd like to welcome you to a community meant for the men of the world to share their thoughts and perspectives on marriage. We can learn from each other's experiences and help each other be better husbands. Today, we have the topic that I'm big and bad, but I'm still afraid of my wife. We're going to dive into that, let you know exactly what we mean. And this might get a little heavy, just fair warning.
And before we totally jump into that, I'd just like to say we love to connect with you wherever we can. So just hit us up on our socials, searching Marriage is Tougher. That is Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. And if you want to reach out, you can reach us at marriagestougher.com, which has all of our episodes archived, as well as a short form if you'd like to be a guest with a topic idea, or if you just want to reach out, you can do that there. But we would just love for you to continue to add to the community. We'd love to hear from you. And if you have any questions, you can slide in the DMs and Instagram. That's the best way to reach us. So let's hop into this episode.
Yeah. So, without diving into the topic specifically, when I say to you, yeah, I'm big and bad, but I'm still afraid of my wife. How does that feel?
Feels terrible.
Yeah.
It feels terrible, but it could be for so many reasons, right?
Right.
It could be, I don't know. It's just a wild thing to think about it. But yeah, it could be differences. It could be strong personality. It could be um, someone could live by the happy wife, happy life rule, which we have debunked and said that's crap anyway.
Right.
But if you live by that mantra, it's more so whatever she wants, she gets, which suffocates you as a husband.
Mm.
So you could think of it that way, but I know that's not the way we're gonna spin that, though.
Right.
So,
Right. No, man. Like it's funny to me because there is this image and reality that I've been projecting for most of my life, that I am a man's man, and that I can just take care of myself and I got everything together, right? But then behind closed doors, I struggle to communicate with my wife, right? And this is something that I've been working on for a while now, but to work through that and learn the cause of my struggles at home with my wife is me being, anxious or intimidated or afraid of confrontation with my wife, when outside of the home, like, I encourage confrontation, right? Like, come on, bro. Right? It's just adds a layer to who I am that I'm ready to peel away.
I'm glad that you said that, because there is a acknowledgement of that took me a while to get to, and it's kind of wild that we kind of arrived at it at the same point. But a lot of times, well, I won't say a lot of times, I'll say for us, there is not it's not really the wife. We're not really afraid of our wives. We're afraid of what they pull out of us, and where they point out or they don't even point it out, where our shortcomings come up because of what we want to be for them.
Mm-hmm.
And who we want, and like the best version of ourselves involves them. So when we come up short in areas, or we are short in areas, that's what's happened, and that's uncomfortable, and it doesn't feel good. And that's not something I normally just jump willy-nilly into, like, yeah, let me feel super uncomfortable, I love it. Actually, that's the exact opposite of my personality. So I'm not afraid of my wife per se. I'm afraid of sometimes the feelings and the spaces that I need to grow, that happens to align with being in a committed relationship with someone you love.
Yeah, yeah. It's my inability to feel like I can handle myself in that situation, right? Because the same tools I could use to handle confrontation out in the world are not the same tools I can use to handle the confrontation with my wife, right? Like I have to be caring and love her through me being upset. So I can't just verbally whip her, right? Like I have to be loving in all the things I do. And I wasn't tooled that way, right? I wasn't taught that. And so going through this growth currently has given me some more tools to be able to talk to my wife, express how I'm feeling, um, and not be so, I don't want to say afraid of her, but afraid of that situation where previously I would just lock down because I didn't know what to do, right? I didn't want to become the guy who would, yell and scream and just force my way on her, right? I didn't want to be the husband who was the example of for my children that, oh, when daddy gets upset, he just yells a lot, right? And I don't understand why he's doing that,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's a whole other thing, but yeah, man, I just knew I needed to be better and started going down this path. And really talking to you just today helped me to figure out a lot about myself. It's therapy is a hell of a drug.
Yeah, it really expands your mind. I know that, yeah, like you're saying, I didn't want to be everything that you just said. I didn't want to be the yeller. I didn't want to be person that couldn't get through the conversation. So I know my way to deal with uncomfortable things is just to compartmentalize it, wall it up, and throw it away. Not throw it away, throw it in the closet, right? Just there's a big, huge basement door that I just toss things down, right? Like I don't want to deal with that. I'm gonna lock up all my feelings and just toss them down the stairs, right? Um, and that sometimes these conversations and these things were like, oh, can you go get that from the basement? Go get that thing that you're trying to toss away and be totally apathetic to so that you don't have feelings. Go grab that because we got to have this conversation. And for me, um, I don't like, I'm currently in a space where I'm learning how to process feelings, and I don't like feelings. I don't like the emotions of emotions, right? I don't like how they physically play out in my body and how I actually feel in those uncomfortable spaces. Um, I don't like the change in temperature. I don't like that I get frustrated. I don't like um, how I feel like I'm riding a roller coaster, but I'm standing still. Like, I don't like any of those things. So for years, my coping mechanism was just don't feel. Like, oh, I'm about to feel, lock that all the way up, toss that out of here. Um, and I'm learning that that's not good,
Mm,
and that is not how to advance in a relationship with your spouse, because true vulnerability is the goal. To lean in and walk side by side with your spouse. So knowing that that's important to me, I now have to take on this challenge of getting through it, and that's tough. And
yeah,
that is why I'm afraid, because I don't feel prepared.
yeah. Now we had a note on this topic list beside the name of this topic that spoke to putting your guard down, right? And being willing to do that and ready to do that. I I know that it has been a coping mechanism, right? And I guess most guards that we put up or walls that we put up to protect ourselves are a coping mechanism. And like you said, you know, go get that thing out of the basement. Like, we don't put trash in the basement. Let's deal with it and get it out of the house, right? um, we're like squirrels stashing nuts, but there are feelings. We're like, I don't like that one. This one I'm gonna hold over here, save it for another day. Because man, I don't know. I already know the answer, but for our listeners, what specifically has been helping you break your walls down, get your guards down, right? I know we talked about therapy, but once you got to a place where you figure out, okay, this is why this is happening, right? You still have to do the work of working through those feelings, accepting that you have those feelings, and the work of now discussing those things with your wife. Um, so have you started that process yet?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm in the process, right? So
Okay.
it's um, journaling, which actually helps. Because it's just like, all right, I'm going to write for X amount of time, and I'm just going to write whatever comes in my head about this said topic and go through it. And it's a lot of processing. It's like having a conversation without having it, right? It
Mm.
gets it all out. There's no faking, there's no rationale that I shouldn't be doing this, I shouldn't do this, or you actually literally write that as you're doing it. Like, should I even be feeling this right now? Who
Right.
knows? This is dumb, right? However you feel, you just write it down. And there's this something happens when either you speak something or you there's an outlet from your mind out into outside of your mind, and it just allows you to have that conversation with yourself, but something about it not being in your head gives more clarity to the situation. And it brings a little bit for our guys that love logic, it brings a little bit more logic to the conversation. So that has helped. And I am a person that when something is uncomfortable or you need to work, like, I want to work through it. It might take me a while to get the courage to do it, but I want to. So it's like knowing that that's the thing. Like, I just have to buckle down and have those conversations. And I know we've been having them little by little. But so back to your point, journaling, prayer,
Mm.
therapy, and then having specific time to talk with my wife about whatever is going on with each of us allows that space to happen. So it's not like coming in and barging in when she's in the middle of something else or trying to do it with our kids around or anything like that. It's like, no, we have specific time to just talk about what's going on with us, and that gives space for those type of conversations.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely need to get into the journaling. That's not necessarily something that I have been doing. Um, I do have a lot of thoughts throughout the day. Sometimes I'll just take 10, 15 minutes and reflect on what's going on inside of me. Um, but like you said, that release, I think, would be more prevalent if I were to journal. So I have another question for you about the journal. Do you think you'll ever get to a space where you'd feel comfortable enough to share your journal with your wife? And if or if not, do you think it could or would be beneficial? Or is that, do you think, best to keep as just a protected space where you can outlet however you're feeling and process it and package it to be, spoken about or conversed about later?
The truthful part of, or the right decision, quote unquote, air quotes, is I feel like, yeah, give it to her. It's great. But there's that part of you. I don't know if that would conflict the purpose of journaling, right?
Right.
Like, because that's any thought, whatever, is now out, right? So it's kind of like having a prep call to an important meeting, right? You have a prep with someone, then you go through what you think you're going to say. And then sometimes when you hear that out loud, you're like, oh, I don't want to say that. Let me shift it to that. Right. And it's not it's not deception or anything like that. It's just how do I word it better if I'm going to bring it to my wife?
I got you.
So I think it can be used as a tool to show vulnerability about a certain thing, or to use to help bring talking points if you're going to have a conversation and you have a hard time staying focused or remembering those things that you want to bring up. Um, and I think that like the journal should be left in a space of just journaling, with the caveat that if you want to, sure, go ahead and do that, but not as a it's going to happen, because it may taint how, for me, how I write.
Hmm.
Because that's kind of something I'm also realizing is I am kind of a people pleaser
Okay.
for the people and the situations where I don't put in that apathetic space. Like when I care, I can try to, I call myself considering, which we've talked about could be manipulation for how I think the conversation should go. So the journal helps me not do that at
Okay.
all. And it's a good reference to come back and be like, no, that's not really how you feel. You may say this, but you've written this here, and this was first thought, first feelings there,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I guess the reason I bring that up is, I think the journaling in my mind is a tool to help us process and then be able to better communicate. Right. And we've spoken about it in the past where, like, you know, our wives give us grace to speak what we're feeling in the moment, you know, without instant repercussion, just
Mm-hmm.
so we can, start the process of getting out what we need to get out. Right. And so I guess with that in mind, I want to be better equipped to have those feelings and thoughts and be able to process them in real time with my wife. Right. And be able to do that without hurt feelings and without making her, feel like a villain, right? Making her feel like she's done something to me and you're evil and right. Um, so I guess what I'm trying to figure out is how does that translate from the journaling space to me being able to just freely communicate with my wife, right? Like I understand that that's a practice, but then I'm currently struggling how to translate that to now I can speak to my wife and process in real time like she does and feel comfortable expressing my feelings.
That's a great point. Um, the only thing I can say is it makes sense once you start practicing it,
I got you.
right? Because it literally is a practice. So it is practicing how to get what's in my mind out.
Hmm.
And so you might not be writing it, like you're obviously having a conversation with your wife, but you're more comfortable with just letting that come out and not filter it through what should, but filter through I want to be authentic in who I am. And your journal, you're authentic to who you are, full authenticity. Um, and that practice helps you to just let it flow through as you go. Um, I think for me, journaling is a lot like prayer, though,
Okay.
Um, and so there's this, I know that I can bring to God anything, and he can totally handle it. Um, and I'm pretty sure I can bring my wife anything too, but I'm I'm learning, practicing that to be able to do that verbally. I'm not so good as a verbal communicator, or I don't feel confident, which is another big, bad, and afraid, right?
Right, right,
Because
right.
outside of the marriage, I can control all those things. But inside, things come up that I don't feel prepared for. And I'm like, up, I need time to think about it. Um, so, yeah, I think that just helps me. The journaling helps me be just process, which in essence helps me become a better verbal processor.
I like it. I like it, man. What I'm hearing you say is don't be afraid of the process, right? With everything else we do in life, we learn and we experience and then have that under our belt, and it better prepares us for the future when we come into those scenarios again, right? We've, I'm sure, done that in our careers, and we'll eventually get to that space in our marriages. The biggest benefit right now is that we're aware of most of the areas we struggle,
Hmm.
and have the willingness to work on ourselves to become better husbands. So I guess what I want to do is enjoy the process the best I can as I'm going through it, knowing that the other side is going to be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I know we were talking before, and I was like, man, I love the other side. I hate, confronting it, or I hate going through it because the feelings are just overwhelming to me because I haven't figured out how to process them. Or I haven't, now I'm thinking about it, like it's, I haven't given the freedom in myself to say it's okay to feel them.
Mm,
I think that's what it is. I haven't been like, it's okay to feel like this. It's okay to have these feelings. Feel it, sit in it, feel it, live it. This is how your body's responding. Now what?
right.
Right? You don't
Yeah.
have to talk or respond out of your emotions, but you should definitely feel them and process them.
Yeah. Have, so this happened to me not long ago, but I'll ask you, have you ever been in a space where there was something you needed to communicate that was uncomfortable, and you're just kind of stuck in your head and you're like, you know what? Whatever. I'm just going to say it. And then it works out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Short
I,
answer,
I need to
yes.
do, I need to do more of that.
Yeah.
Because we have these conjectured ideas that, oh, this is going to go real bad if I say this. But it's so many times I feel like it's what she's just looking for. She just wants us to express what's going on.
Gosh.
And then she just handles it like a boss. And I'm just like, all right, I got to do that more often. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we look, the self-preservation in us looks to the worst case scenario.
Mhm.
But I would say I don't weigh the best case scenario either.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I just think, oh, this is gonna be terrible. But it's like, but what if it's amazing? And if
Right.
I could just start look at the what if it's amazing, I would probably be more confident in those situations where I'm uncomfortable.
Man, somebody needs to put that on a t-shirt. But what if it's amazing? Because just think about communicating that to your kids when they're, anxious or afraid or timid about anything that they want to do. Like they see somebody else doing it, looks like a lot of fun,
Hmm.
and they're just hesitant, right? Like whisper that in their ear. But what if it's amazing? Go.
Oh my gosh, yo, that's crazy. Wow. Yeah. And that's it. Thanks. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I think that helps. Um, and I don't know where that came from, but thank you.
I'm here for it all, man. Hey, we want to take this opportunity real quick to invite you to link up with us on our socials. Searching Marriage is Tougher. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. If you'd like to be a guest, hop over to our website, marriageistuffer.com. There's a short form for you to fill out there where we'll ask you a couple questions, qualify you to be on the show, and then get you scheduled up to be on the show. Also, all of our past episodes are archived there. So what we've learned is re-listening to things will help you learn more and faster. So feel free to use that as a tool um, as you go through your quote unquote process of becoming a better husband. I just want to encourage everyone that is listening right now to not be afraid of the process. The process is good, the process is right. And, you know, help us get the word out by sharing our podcast. If you have gotten any value out of it at all and think other men of the world, other husbands of the world could be benefited by listening in any shape, form, or fashion, please help us get the word out by sharing. We love that you are here with us as we go through our process because as we learn, we know we can help you learn as well. So just want to say thank you for tuning in and we're excited to have you come back and listen more.
See ya.